Dementia. It has no shape or form. To many, it is incomprehensible, indescribable, incommunicable, unintelligible, indefinable. Dementia becomes a mental circle which cannot be contained in a few words, a sentence, a book. It is intangible. I sat with a man whose sourdough smell of disappearing was overwhelming. He became elusive and unknown to his own being. The part that was once his shining light dimmed. The sound of sunshine no longer warmed his thoughts. To the outsider, his reality was their unreality. I watched him sitting amongst a sea of other broken minds as his ramblings built like burning fire in my head. I desired a catharsis to free him from being a naked slave to the demolition of his cells. My emotional stamina started to fissure. I was bailing a sinking boat. Skies were greying, I liked dying. The blue twinkle faded as he passed on.
Ken lived a happy, full life with a ready smile on his lips. And when he was young, he was a gymnast, so he must have had flexible hips. He did a spell in the Merchant Navy, so he saw quite a bit of the world. And then he came back and fell in love with Dorothy, his beautiful girl, with 2 sons who gave him grandchildren, all of whom he was incredibly proud. Although he was a man of private thoughts, he didn't often say them out loud. His main career was spent in Balindra, with fitter and turner being his choice of trade, for the iconic, now former British Steel, where camaraderie and friendships were made. They went to live in Bohan Street, Swansea, where their boys grew up into men, and the neighbours were phenomenally kind and cared deeply for Dot and for Ken. He was creative in so many ways and made furniture from designs in his head. He even installed their full central heating. He was practical, rather more than well-read. He was a contented family man whose passion was a good game of bowls, who taught himself to play the piano, but wasn't one for ambitions or goals. I think we could all learn a lot from the way he lived his long life. Despite living through the Second World War, he preferred laughter to trouble and strife. He was happy in his own skin and loved his family. That was abundantly clear. He reached the ripe old age of 97, so we should be grateful and not shed too many tears.
Fog fills the valley, obliterating distance. My tea grows colder. Scavenged memories. Past illuminates an unfolding future. A fulcrum.
The twinkling of the night stars. A white feather falling like a snowflake. A symbol, a date. Our hearts and mind travel back to a time when the future now has no space, yet the strings of memory sing. As we recall, music is the food of love, let your memory sing.
Cold bitter coffee gives me a good morning kick. Now I'm finally awake.
Rather strange experience earlier this week. Speaking to a friend of mine on the telephone, she's 91, and she told me that she'd been using her microwave when suddenly it blew up, a loud explosion, and flames, red, gold, blue, shot out. And if she'd been standing any nearer to it, she'd have been engulfed. So I worried about this for a while and made her promise to speak to her son about it. I later spoke to her son, and it transpires she was exaggerating just a little bit, in as much as the fuse box had gone with a little spark and a little click. My week.
Well, I was about 6-year-old, and it was June the 29th, 1941. And I was in bed, and my mother was looking through the window. She always looked out at every night. She was looking for aeroplanes, and searchlights were up there. And she said, "That sounds like a Jerry," which was our name for a German aeroplane. "That sounds like a Jerry," she said. Their engines had a different sound to British planes. So anyway, next thing, there was a terrible flash and a bang. And I said, what is it, Mummy? Thunder and lightning? And my father, the ceiling was falling down on the bed. And my father came running in. He said, excuse my language, that one was bloody close, he said. No? Well, it was in our garden. And if no arid warning had gone, and if the arid siren had gone, we'd have been all out in the shelter, and we'd have all been killed. So isn't that lucky? Strange, isn't it? Life is very strange, isn't it?
In the lowlands of Cregan there lives a white hare, as swift as the swallow that flies through the air. You may tramp the world over, but none to compare to the pride of old Cregan, that bonny white hare. Well, one clear autumn morning, as you will suppose, the red golden sun of the green mountain rose. Barney Conway came down, and he did declare, this day I'll put an end to that bonny white hare. So they searched through the lowlands and down through the glen, all among the wild ditches where the wild hare had hens, till at last coming down o'er the heather so fair, from behind the wild thistle out jumps the white hare. Bang, bang went his guns, and his dogs they slipped too, as swift as the wind o'er the green mountain flew. But his dogs soon came back, and it made Barney sigh, for he knew that the white hare had bid him goodbye. Oh, now to conclude and to finish this rhyme, I hope you'll forgive me for singing a while. If there's any among you in Carrickmore fair, please drink up a health to that bonny white hare.
So it's Pontrydyfen, and it's the little aqueduct and the river, which I used to jump into when I was younger.
So I want mine to be just like the most colourful thing ever. I thought about a rainbow, but then I thought just like a mix of colours like around the whole thing. Just every colour all mixed together, really, really, really bright. And I would like some sort of positive quote or something on there. I'm not sure what it is yet, but going round it or in the middle.
I would want a reversible mug. One side, I'd be showing or painting a really happy face with a warm, welcoming smile, maskless of course, and shining eyes. This I would raise in a toast to others as I sip from it. On the other side, however, would be my scowly face. As someone once said to me, I have a look that would melt steel when I'm annoyed. Underneath would be written, don't speak to me. And this I would raise to others whenever Wales lost at rugby.
A picture of the scene from the front bedroom of the home I grew up in North Wales. And what you would see, and this would probably wrap around the mug, a river separating two fields with trees alongside. Then you have a mountain in the background with trees in front of it. I'd have two words on this mug. The first is atgofion, which is remembering, and the second one is hiraeth, which can mean that and much, much more.
I drew a montage of Roald Dahl's characters here in order. Here we have the BFG holding Sophie, and then Fantastic Mr. Fox, Matilda, and just behind her, the Grand High Witch, and then Willy Wonka, George brewing his medicine, and in the distance we see the flying peach with the seagulls.
When I was little, my nickname was Teapot because I loved tea, and I couldn't exist without tea. to the extent that I even tried to drink some tea that was given to the cats in my granny's house. Tea, solace to the heart, the mind, the soul. Drink deeply.
To draw, so I drew a white snake because I really want one.
And what would you name your snake? What would your snake be called?
Well, that kind of snake that I want is called a blue-eyed leucistic snake. I would probably call her Lucille.
Nice. After Lucille Ball or just...
Yeah, I love Lucille Ball. Yep. It's also called a ball python, so it would be perfect.
What I'd like on my mug is the Victorian hotel foyer with palm trees in it and a big grand piano with the treble clef and the bass clef and musical notes going all the way around.
Tenacity, endeavour, ability, organisation, rehearsal, courage, originality, friendship, freedom, energy, and empathy.
At the bottom of the inside, I would have anything is possible. Underneath, when it's showing to other people, everything is possible. And then around the outside with this would be every dawn brings a day full of new possibilities.
Usually I like to have tea, just a potion that helps me concentrate with work and all that. And then there are times where, since it's a Roald Dahl mug, I would like to have hot chocolate with it, because with it being Roald Dahl, I like to imagine them and just drinking out of the chocolate river. Yeah, just fill it before Augustus gets to it.
My mum was cremated in Narberth, and afterwards we all went to Colby Gardens for a wake. We were a small group of beloved family and friends. I would like to take all those precious people and my mum and dad and sister who are all gone and take the path through the dappled woodland to Amroth. There we would sit with our matching mugs of tea or coffee if they must, and look out at the stones and the sea, gazing to the horizon until the sun sets behind the cliffs to the sound of rattling stones as the gentle waves break with a sigh.
Sitting relaxing with my family and friends, shutting out the cold and snow and wind. My mug will be filled with warm milk and honey in the inviting, warm room. Listening to their chatter and watching their animated faces is okay with me on Zoom, but how much better to actually be there with them. The feeling that I get when I drink milk and honey gives me the same warm feeling that I have when I'm actually with my family.
I have decided that I would like to be in a tent somewhere camping where it's really pretty and green but not too cold, and in my mug I'll have green tea.
My drink definitely would be tea. I'm sort of originally from Yorkshire, and I sort of like 2 cups of tea before I leave home every morning. And it's quite rich. Everybody takes their tea differently. So you can say, oh, you like a strong cup of tea to someone, but strong might be really very weak and light to someone else. So it's very variable. But with that mug of tea, today, right at this moment, I suppose I would like to be on a warm, sunny beach somewhere, sitting there and just watching everybody, watching everything, and getting up every now and again, walking to the waterside and taking lots of photographs, just recording the sounds and watching and listening and learning. It would just be magical for me, and just closing my eyes and taking a sip of that warmth and just feeling, really, just feeling the energy around me. It would be magic, yeah.
I've gone for a nice warm beach too. I've gone for Kevin Sheehan on a deck chair on Kevin Sheehan with Chrissy and Pablo, but it's sunny, and I'm drinking coffee out of my mug.
So my drink of choice would be a cup of Yorkshire tea, obviously, and I would be sat on the sofa in my best friend's house in Yorkshire, where, like, whenever I go up and visit, we sit on the sofa, we have a cup of tea and a gossip, and our little girl's like climbing all over the sofa and climbing all over me. And that's just where I want to be right now, with my cup of tea, pretending things are a bit more normal.
Beach. I'm going to be on my own. I don't know what that says about me as a person. The whole beach is mine. I'm sitting on the beach. I have a blanket. I have a book. My mug is filled with some kind of cold alcoholic beverage. Like, all I can hear is the waves and the gulls, and it's very tranquil and warm.
I am very loyal to my mugs. At the moment, it's an RNLI mug, and I am really faithful and particular. So I tend to drink my tea from this. I'm a teaholic, but at the end of the day, I always make a cup of hot chocolate, and I have my own recipe. So I'm going to take you through the Jim Meehan recipe for a good cup of hot chocolate. I do a heaped tablespoon of Cadbury's Highlight, and it goes in the base of the cup. And then I fill the quarter of the cup with milk, and I whisk it with the spoon. And I try and get the little sediment off the side. This is part of the ritual, so bear with me. And then I've got 3/4 of the cup left over, so I top that up with hot water. And then I whisk it again, and again, and again. And then I'm left with a froth. And like a good wine connoisseur, I take some of the froth, and I tend to my shame, I tend to have a taste that have actually dissolved all the chocolate. Right? Now, it's a little ritual about 9 o'clock, 9:30 at night, and I'm sort of closing the day off, and it's a little wind down thing. And there's probably a little bit of dopamine rush there as well. So the place I'm going to is a little dopamine shot. Now, I could have had 2 beers, but I don't care about the beer at that time of the day. I want my hot chocolate, right? Okay, it's got to be the hot chocolate. And then I've got another little ritual. I do a little bit of light reading, and it's got to be light reading before I go to bed, right? I know everybody's got their own taste, but I want to wind down with that little dopamine kick, right? So there's my favorite cup. But I'll be there eventually at the end of the day with my cup of hot chocolate, with my own special recipe.
Take my mug to the apple orchard with its fragrant fruits. I'll sit on a fallen tree that overlooks the river, sip my drink and think of days well past, and hear Chopin playing like the rippling waters.
We, as a family, on a lovely bank holiday in a field on a plateau overlooking the village I grew up in, away from the crowds, away from the noise, at peace with the world, but together. I can't remember what I drank then. Now I would be happy with some hot water, as I like my tea and coffee so weak. I remember my grandfather saying that tea tasted differently in North Wales to South Wales. Who would have thought that water could taste so different?
Monarchs arriving in southern sanctuary, swamping the azure sky, complimentary. I stand at the head of an Aztec valley, a granite altar, pines and earth and sun, and the confetti of a moment, filled with ochre, red, white, wings of possibility in their millions, lifting me up with their hope of life, love. The tiniest sip of tequila, my feet have landed, rooting in memory.
Right now, a place I would really love to be with my 2 tea bag tea, milk, no sugar, would be in the lounge with my mum, her the other end of the lounge in her chair with her black coffee, cafetiere coffee, her plying me with her gluten-free raspberry brownies, being with her because I haven't seen her for ages.
I'm actually a great tea drinker, but I'd like to have my iced coffee in Australia in a specific park where the cockatoos flock to the tops of the trees and they're really raucous and you can't hear yourself think, so it's a very good place to go and contemplate.
I would have my cat mug, which I'm sure a lot of people have seen, with a really strong cup of tea, and I'd be on a bench where I can watch the sea, which is located at the top of Town Hill, just a little bit down from where the university used to be. And it'd be nice, really early morning. I'd be there with my cup of tea, just watching the sea come in.
On my mug, I've written, I love Baileys and my dog. If I had my favourite drink, I would have to have it in bed, because a mug full of Baileys, I wouldn't be able to move, would I? That would be my ideal drink, a mug full of Baileys. But as I say, it would have to be lying down.